My first guest is the epitome of Hollywood glamour. In a glittering career that spanned 6 decades, she starred in more than 65 feature films, won a Golden Globe, and who could forget her iconic role as super bitch Alexis Carrington in Dynasty.
For God's sake, Alexis, I may not be around much longer. And if I'm not, and Blake goes to prison, what'll happen to Christina?
Oh, I'd never let anything happen to your little girl. If worse came to worse, I'd take care of her myself.
What?
You know how much I adore children.
Alexis, you are the last person I'd want Christina to be with.
Well, I can understand that.
Please give a warm 80 welcome to Joan Collins. Lovely to see you. I'm very well. How lovely to see you.
How lovely to see you too.
I first interviewed you about 2 years ago, and you've not changed a jot.
Oh, thank you, darling. It's lots of makeup.
Bless your heart.
It's great to see you.
Well, lots of makeup here as well, actually. Joan Collins, it's self-evident, the title of this, really, because you must have passion for life.
I do. That's why I thought a lot about writing, because it's my 3rd autobiography, and I call it more of a photographic memoir, because I have so many pictures in it, and so many pictures of my family that I found, this whole cache of old pictures of my grandmother dressed in sort of lace-up boots and feathers, and she's entertaining the troops during the Boer War, and my... Yeah, well, she did, yes. She stage at some point and said, well, you know, if anybody knows the history, she said mafficking has been relieved. Yes, so she did. Yeah, that's how long ago that was. Yeah. It was at 1906, I think, or something, because my father was born then, and then all my family were in show business, and I have these pictures of my aunts, and some of which are quite racy. My Aunt Pauline was a showgirl, and she used to often be semi-naked on the stage. Yes, and there's pictures of that.
So you actually caught it from your Auntie Pauline?
Yes,
really?
I did. I said, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
There's bits on family, a good bit on family, as you say, lots on friends. Bits on royalty. I learnt from this book that the Queen Mother was a fan of Dynasty.
I know. Isn't that wonderful? I was attending a premiere in London in between shows, and she was introduced, or I was introduced to her. I've never seen so many diamonds. I mean, I could hardly see. And the tiara and the earring, bracelets and the pins and the necklace, everything. And she said, what are you doing here, dear? And I said, well, I'm here. I'm on holiday from Dynasty. And she said, oh. And I said, oh, do you watch it? She said, oh, yes, we watch it. And I said, do you hate me? She said, oh, no, my dear, we love you, which I thought was wonderful.
Kind and
yes,
diplomatic.
And I've always liked her very much, I think.
What comes over in this book is there's hardly any Hollywood megastar that you haven't known, worked with, met. I mean, the Elizabeth Taylor stories I found particularly heartening, because one's always a bit scared of Elizabeth Taylor. And you give the impression that she was actually one of the girls.
She was. She did her last movie with me and Shirley MacLaine and Debbie Reynolds. She was quite frail then. And, in fact, I was standing, you know, she loves jewellery, and she was a little bit of a kleptomaniac. But she would always be very charming about it. I love those cufflinks. I love them so much. Richard would love them. Can I have those cufflinks? And the person would always give her everything, because she was such a... I don't know, she was such an iconic star. So I'm standing outside stage 3. We're about to go in and rehearse a scene, and I'm wearing these bracelets, which I wear all the time. And I know that she had just had some earrings from a friend of mine, Donatella Versace. She had borrowed them and then said, thank you so much for the earrings, and even though they were borrowed. Yeah. And so she said, I love those bracelets, are they real? And I said, yes. She said, let me try them on. I said, no, Elizabeth. I said, I've got to go on the set. You come.
Get off.
Yes.
Who of the people that you've worked with, Joan, have you most admired in terms of their stagecraft, you know?
Oh. Well, of course, there were several, but I think I really loved Nigel Hawthorne, Sir Nigel Hawthorne. Not only was he a great friend, but I was in a movie with him called what was it called? Something about a wedding, something wedding, marriage, clandestine marriage.
Yes.
And I played an old bag, which was nice, and he played an even stranger bag with sort of a red wig and a very strange clothes. But he was the most charming man and a wonderful actor. But the other one, the Hollywood one, of course, was Paul Newman.
Yeah, oh gosh, you'll have the ladies drooling. Were the eyes as blue as they appeared to have been in the pictures?
Bluer.
Bluer.
Yes. And the last time I saw him, which was about a year before he died in New York, we were at some gala event, and I said, "How are you?" And he said, "Still got a pulse."
When you're working opposite someone like that, it must raise your game as well. I mean, make you want to be better than you.
Absolutely, yes. You know, if you work with actors who are maybe not as experienced or not as good, you kind of become a little bit lazy. But I've worked with some wonderful people. I mean, I've worked with Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Betty Davis, Richard Burton, Gene Kelly. I mean, and all in Passion for Life, I have anecdotes about and stories and photographs about all of them.
It's unputdownable. I can tell you, I was nearly late coming down. But I have one final question. 5 husbands.
Yes.
What has the 5th one got that the other 4 didn't have?
I'm not going to tell you. We were great friends before we got into the second stage of a relationship. We were mates, we hung out together, we were working together, and we went around America together on tour, and I think that was very important. Not only that, he's a wonderful man.
Marry your best friend, that's the answer. Joan's book, Passion for Life, out now, and it is, I tell you, unputdownable. I'm going straight back. My thanks to Joan Collins.
Thank you, Alan. Tony, my ex-husband, Anthony Newley, we sort of got together after that.
Right.
Wow.
Well,
yeah.
We have the clip of the both of you in Red Pepper.
Oh.
Let's have a look.
Heave-ho, me hearties, the quarterdeck needs dusting.
We had a binge last Christmas year.
Nice plum pudding and a round of beer. But the captain pulled his cracker and we cried, oh dear, has anybody seen our ship? La, 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 la.
How long is it since you've seen that?
Oh, I can't remember. We did it about 93, I think, so that's a long time ago. And sadly, Tony is no longer with us, but he was such a great performer, and I write about him and our marriage in
Yes,
my book. Yeah.
you do. Well, it's a brilliant memoir,
Oh,
Passion for Life.
Yes.
And it's quite a busy month for books, October, because there's lots and lots of them out. We had Harriet Redknapp on last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
And Alex Ferguson's is out tomorrow, and there's been lots of talk about how he settles all these different scores in his book, and we just wondered whose noses are going to be put out of joint when they read yours, Joan?
Well, I'll tell you one secret thing, and I think I wrote about it in the book. It has to do with Dynasty. And when my agent told me about Dynasty, he said, it's not going to last, this show. It's fading fast. Nobody is watching it. So they want to bring you in for like 5 or 6 weeks to try and beef it up. Yeah. So I came in, and the show went like that. And some of the members of the cast, particularly the lead male, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he did not like it.
No.
His nose was really put out of joint, and unfortunately, we didn't get along, and which worked very well because we had to hate each other in the show. But luckily,
So that was real then, what was on screen?
yeah, one scene he had to strangle me, and I was so nervous that he was really going to strangle me that I got my double that day, and I said, Sandy, get the same dress as I'm wearing because I'm really worried about this.
Oh, really?
And if you ever see this, the strangling scene, which is on the top of the stairs of the Carrington mansion, that is not me in the long shot. It is. So that I did put the nose out of joint, and I'm sorry.
There we go. Well, it is. I mean, you can flick through it and see all of these beautiful pictures because you sort of say it's kind of a pictorial
Well,
memoir,
it's a pictorial,
right?
but it's also got 50,000 words.
Yes.
So it's a mixture of both, and I flipped through. I have chapters about my life, I have chapters about my boyfriends, some of whom
Which is my favourite chapter.
Oh, really?
So yeah, they're obviously.
I know.
Cast an eye
And
over it,
husbands, of course, and some kind of naughty stories, which one has to do, and some a lot of stuff about my early family. I found these amazing old pictures of my aunts who were dancers during the 1920s. And there was one of my aunt which was rather naughty because she is draped in nothing. And you can see, and for the 1922 or whenever that was really fast.
Goodness me,
really
Auntie.
fast.
Goodness me. I mean, there's some beautiful photos as well of yourself. There's got this lovely one of you as a young girl. And is this the time, was it your hairdresser? She was the first person to tell you that you were beautiful?
Yes, well, she didn't say I was beautiful. She looked at me and she said, "Oh, you have such beautiful eyes." And I said, "I do." Because in this era, if your father or your mother never told you that you were pretty or clever or nice or anything. Sit down, eat, shut up. You know, not that they were bad to me, but children were literally to be seen and not heard. It was a very old-fashioned theory.
Now,
but I enjoyed writing it a lot.
I bet. Now, the other picture that we've got here ready to show is a lovely one of you and Warren Beatty. Isn't he handsome, Joan, in this picture?
Well, he was 22, he should be.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, he was very handsome. Good, yeah.
So lots of pictures as you'd expect of you with various stars. And then we were flicking through it, and in the meeting we came to this one. I thought, well, that was a surprise. Here it is.
Oh.
No, not that one. This one.
There we are.
Biggins and I doing our favourite thing, eating. Yes. I think we were going to open a hotel somewhere in Greece.
Right.
And
did you ask his permission for that photo, or did you just put it in there?
yes, I did.
Oh, you
yes.
did?
He loves it.
Yeah, but he doesn't know it's going to be on the One Show tonight.
Yeah, probably watching. Hi, Chris, if you are. Goodness me, yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to get a signed copy, I'm signing at Selfridges on Saturday in the afternoon, so I'm signing to whoever would love, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, there'll be a massive queue there. Now, you've had loads of hits during your long career. You talk about it in the book. Let's remind ourselves of one of the biggest. Here it is.
Just a bit of advice. If you're dressing for Stephen, not that one. He doesn't like anything quite so obvious.
Thank you. But when Stephen doesn't like what I wear, I take it off.
Goodness me! That was that you, or was that your stunt double Sandra there?
That was me. Junie is about 5'2", and every time it came to that part of the scene, she said, "Oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, I don't want to hurt her." And David Miller, the director, said, "For God's sake, go and hit her as hard as you can," apparently. He said. So when she hit me so hard that my earring fell off, and I thought it was my teeth falling underground. And she said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it." And I had a huge, the makeup man came with ice, they couldn't shoot on me for the rest of the day, the perils of the profession.
But you regain your composure like a pro in that.
Well, I do. I look stunned.
Yeah, you do, with
Yes.
a lovely smile at the end.
But that's the funniest thing, that was one of your first major Hollywood role.
American, yes.
Yeah.
And I played an American, and I played a girl called Crystal. How about that?
How about that?
Amazing.
Irony.